Welcome to Lab GenAI89966 Revenue versus Cash Flow Timing Analysis. This lab works in ChatGPT paid or Copilot and Gemini free version. So there's often a gap between when companies record revenue and when cash comes into the company. And this lab looks to compare revenue recognized to cash collected over time and then measure how long customers are taking to pay. These timing differences often impact working capital, liquidity, and how strong a company looks at any given moment. So the first thing we want to do is start a new chat. So we will just type in here, start a new chat. And this will just help us clear the memory from every previous conversations so the analysis can run clearly. Then we will go ahead and upload our data. This is just so that ChatGPT can analyze it and better help us with the prompts. So now you can either type out your prompts from the lab instructions or you can copy and paste them. I will be copy and pasting them. So the first thing that we will be looking into is adding a new column that shows us how many days it took for each sale to become cash. This is really helpful because it helps measure collection speed, which is the key indicator of payment behavior. So here we can see that for each transaction, we will see how many days it took to collect. So for the first one, date of sale is January 3rd, but we didn't receive cash until January 15th. It is really important because short days to collect means customers pay quickly, while larger values indicate slower payments. So now that we have that information, we want to summarize the data set and report which transactions take the longest and which ones take the shortest amount of time. We'll summarize it by company to make it easier. And this is really important because this lets us identify patterns. For example, we can see that Harbor Inc. is the quickest company to pay us back with a very short amount of time of 4 days. But then we have Venture Inc., which takes 39 days. This is important because for those companies that take longer, they might need follow-up emails. But for those companies that take shorter amount of time, they might have the opportunity to be offered things like sales discounts because they always ensure that they pay on time. So now that we have this information, we will summarize total revenue and total cash collected by month. So this is especially important because the cumulative difference shows how much revenue is still unpaid over time. So if revenue is ahead of cash, accounts receivable is increasing. But if cash catches up, then collections are improving. So here we can see that in January of 2025, we had $8,650 in revenue, but only $2,950 in cash collected. But as time goes on, although we see our revenue is still steady and even increasing, we also see that our cash collected is catching up. And eventually in July, we have no revenue coming in, but we're still collecting cash from previous accounts receivable. So sometimes it is easier to visualize things. So we will ask ChatGPT to create a line chart that compares monthly revenue to cash collected and to put it in the chat. So this chart visually shows the timing gap. If the revenue line, so the orange line, is above the cash line, sales were recorded before being paid. So as we can see, for example, in February, our revenue is $8,000, but our cash collected is only around $5,000. However, when we go to March, we see that we are now collecting a lot of cash from previous months, up to $12,000, but our revenue stays steady. When the lines meet, it indicates that cash collections is catching up. And this visualization just makes timing differences easy to interpret at a glance. So now we will ask ChatGPT to output the final chart as a PNG for the assignment you are going to have to turn in into a Word document. And once we are done with that, then we will also ask ChatGPT to output the prompt so that we can also upload this into the Word document that you will need to turn in at the end of these assignments. So after you have everything done, you have completed the lab, just make sure to answer the multiple choice questions and the open-ended questions. I hope this was helpful. Have a great day.